Welcome everyone to another video, and in this video we are going to be featuring a team with Perrserker as the lead. I previously featured a team that had Perrserker along with Obstagoon, but that was just mostly showing off like different Galarian Pokemon used on the same team. I do think Perrserker as a lead is very interesting because it does very well against Giratina and Cresselia, and then as well has really great play against Registeel. So three of the most dominant Pokemon in the meta. But let's go ahead and get started with the battles. So this is by Oteg, Zero Tag. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but I'm sure this trainer will let me know in the comment sections how to pronounce this trainer name. So I'm going to lead Perrserker into Gyarados. So this is an okay lead. Well, actually a very good lead because as a steel type, it does resist the Dragon Breath. And then as well, it takes Gyarados 7.5 turns to get to... Looks like it's building up quite a bit of energy. Well, I guess it's trying to threaten the Hydro Pump, which would be, which would be about like 12.5 turns, which is almost to, which actually should be to 2 foul plays. So I guess they actually fired a little bit early. So they do shield. Probably gonna let this go. This crunch, it's gonna hurt, but it's not. It's still gonna be able to survive, and then should be able to Shadow Claw down. Shadow Claw, a really strong move, and we're gonna see what's coming in. It is Swampert. Swampert is going to be able to deal super effective damage with the mud shots, and looks like no shield, and was able to get off the close combat. Really nice play. Firing off the foul play first, then getting to the close combat allowed this Perrserker actually to get to the the second charge move. I'm going to go in with, oh yeah, so this matchup's a wrap. Yeah, this matchup is definitely over. Even shields, this Swampert's almost GG'd, and so actually rocking Dragon Breath Giratina. So I think Dragon Breath Giratina has definitely made a rise in Season 2, mostly because it has a much more consistent matchup against the likes of Swampert, as opposed to Shadow Claw. It's really bait dependent on the Swampert side. But with the Dragon Breath, it's so oppressive, and then as well, it's able to beat the opposing Giratina in most shield scenarios. So yeah, this matchup's pretty much over. They might shield here, but the Swampert can double up, and that's pretty much a GG. And then the Giratina is almost at full health, so it doesn't really matter at this point in time. And I'm gonna switch it. Oh, I'm gonna try to switch out, but looks like they decide to leave. So Perrserker had a really nice lead there against Gyarados. As we know, like steel typing is always a really good type to resist so many different types. Obviously, Perrserker has to be careful of the likes of Swampert, but it's still able to hit Swampert with neutral damage. So now we're going to see against Giratina. This is unfortunately the Shadow Claw variant, so it is able to do super effective damage to Giratina. But Giratina is also able to do neutral damage with Shadow Claws and Shadow Sneak. And Shadow Sneak and Foul Play are the same amount of energy, so they actually get to it at the same time. But you can see that Perrserker is doing quite a bit of damage. It's still a good matchup. They actually switch out into Alolan Muck. Very nice switch. Able to catch it. A little bit easier to count since like they obviously generate energy at the same pace and their charge moves at the same time. And they switch out into Alolan Muck. So at this stage, Hydro Cannon won't KO, so going straight for the Earthquake. This would be very risky if this Alolan Muck decides to shield. No shield. Kind of a little bit of a gamble, like whether or not you want to bait or not. And this Dragon Claw won't KO. Giratina, even though it has really good stats, unfortunately doesn't hit that hard, or at least Giratina altered with its charge moves. So able to take it out with the Hydro Cannon, and then here comes Swampert, and yeah, this matchup's almost as over as this person's battery. 15%. It's probably a little bit more than 15% left of this battle, but yeah, this is pretty much over. It can basically just Dragon Breath down at this point in time. There's not really much play. If this was a Shadow Claw variant, there's definitely a little bit more baiting opportunity because the Shadow Claws don't do as much damage. but this Dragon Breaths are so oppressive that you can basically just 2 shield and Dragon Breath down, which is effectively what's gonna happen. And they just keep going for the baits, but yeah, this matchup's pretty much over. Debating whether or not they want to flex. Oh, okay. They get a little bit closer than it has to be. Okay. Yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter. It looks like they landed the Earthquake anyways. But to be honest, straight Dragon Breath probably would have been would allow them to finish like a turn earlier. So GG, very very close, and it actually would have been much closer with the Shadow Claw variant, especially if they call the baits correctly. Okay, so this is an interesting matchup. So Gardevoir obviously taking super effective damage from the Shadow Claws, and they switch out into Giratina. They must have. They probably have like a Swampert in the back. So very nice. Yeah, very nice switch. Let's see if this is going to be the Shadow Sneak. So very nice. So Shadow Sneak and Dragon Claw actually do the same amount of damage. Dragon Claw is 35 energy, 50 damage, and then Shadow Sneak is 45 energy, 50 damage. So probably gonna go for the Shadow Sneak, which would deal super effective damage to Gardevoirs. This is why Gardevoir is not as good as a Charmer, because a lot of these, Ghost Dragons are able to hit it for super effective. Oh, interesting. Okay, this is interesting. Gonna go for the close combat. Both close combat and foul play are resisted because of Heracross's fighting and bug typing, bug resisting fighting, and then this is actually gonna be kind of a close match. Oh, okay. They actually go for the Mega Horn. I think going for the close combat is actually the play. Yeah, I think it is actually the play because a little bit of energy advantage. And then unfortunately, and the thing is like mud shots are resisted because of Heracross's ground typing, and yeah, it's a little bit. I think that's the wrong, and it would be super low. But you can see these mud shots, even if they were to do twice the damage, still wouldn't do that much. And unfortunately, this Heracross is going to get outpaced because they decided to go for the Mega Horn. If they would have just went for 3 close combats, then this actually would have been a really close match. Mega Horn is 10 energy more than close combat, so like effectively like 3 counters less to get to the third one. Okay, so obviously this is not a great scenario. Gonna safe switch into Dragon Breath Giratina, and then this is actually another example of why Dragon Breath is generally preferred over Shadow Claw, because it is able to beat its counters of Alolan Muck and Snorlax, depending on the energy and shielding scenario. But with a little bit of energy advantage, it's able to flip both those matchups. So as you can see, these Dragon Breaths are doing so much. Dragon Breath is just such an oppressive move. Even though those licks are doing super effective damage, you can see how much work this Giratina is doing against the Snorlax. Actually causes shield to be drawn. Actually decides to shield the body slam, wants to win switch advantage, which makes a lot of sense. You could even go down a shield because Swampert can beat Charizard down a shield, and they just kind of decide to come back in with Charizard. I'm curious what they have in the back that they decide to come back in with Charizard, and then now the Swampert's gonna come in. Probably a Blast Burn. Doesn't, yeah. Oh, just Dragon Claw. Okay. And waiting for the switch. Oh, yeah. So this is interesting, though. This is actually a very interesting situation. So it takes 6 Shadow Claws to get to the close combat. Like 6 times. Oh, 8 times 6, which is 48. So depending on the baiting, really needs to get rid of this shift tree, and really doesn't matter because the Snarls are very unlikely to take down this Perrserker. And then actually it's very good that lower defense, less energy, though Swampert would be able to survive at least one more Blast Burn, probably Blast Burn and Dragon Claw. So very nice job at winning switch advantage. It would have been really tempting by a lot of people to not shield the Body Slam, because Body Slam does almost nothing, and go up the shield advantage, but it ended up being the right play because they basically lined up the hard counters. So really nice job at maintaining, actually winning switch advantage. And then here comes Swampert. So you're going to see the power of Dragon Breath Giratina. Even if you call this bait incorrectly, obviously calling it correctly makes a huge difference. And now, as a Swampert, you have to land two Earthquakes or Earthquake and 2 Hydro Cannons. And as you can see, these Dragon Breaths are doing so much damage. I wouldn't be surprised if the Swampert decides to shield to try to get off the Earthquake, which it does, which makes sense. But the thing is, like, it's going to be like 2 or 3 turns and this Swampert's gone, so it's not even going to be able to get off. Yeah, not even going to be able to get off Hydro Cannon. And then here comes Cresselia, so maintaining that switch advantage despite not having a hard counter to Swampert, though like not many people carry like quote unquote hard counters to Swampert. Like there's not that much grass. So Giratina Dragon Breath was a really good decision. Okay. Oh, interesting. Here comes Poliwrath. Okay, so this is a little bit of a... Okay, they decide to shield, which makes sense. Most times, I feel like most times when people are going to switch out of a matchup and they're firing a move, most of the time it's a nuke. So that's something that you can reliably shield. Obviously, you can play some mind games. This is probably an Ice Punch. Good call. Needs to preserve the shield. And then it's within Hydro Cannon range. To be honest, like could even let this go. Yeah, but it doesn't really matter. At this stage, there's not much that the... Okay, it's going to be able to Psycho Cut down, but this matchup's over unless Cresselia has some like crazy move. Hopefully they never give Cresselia some... I don't think it actually even learns any move that could counter steel types. And there you go. Perrserker caught me in clutch again. Near then. Really, really interesting lead. And like a steel type that can... Obviously, there are quite a few interesting steel types that have come in Season 2. Escavalier, Perrserker. Obviously, there's still Registeel. Okay, so we're going to see this matchup. This matchup's quite interesting. Obviously, the lock-ons are not doing that much damage, so you can safely close combat. But Registeel also has like way more bulk, and it does take 7.5 turns to get to the Focus Blast, and only 6 to get to the... So what this trainer is doing really well is basically they're timing their charge moves to win CMP versus the... Okay, it looks like a little bit of an overcharge there, which makes sense. Kind of throw off your opponent. Here comes the Focus Blast. As you can see, Perrserker having a very good matchup against Registeel, especially with no baits. It's like 6 turns to get to... Okay, looks like they're going to throw... Oh, this is a Focus... Well, this is probably a Focus Blast with the shield down. Very nice switch. And this Focus Blast almost did nothing. Here comes Armored Mewtwo. This is actually not a good situation for... Well, yeah, this is not a good situation for the opponent, but a very good situation. This Side Strike is going to hurt. So it takes 4 confusions for the first one, and then 3 for the next one. And gonna time this perfectly. This trainer does a really nice job at timing it so that they're throwing the charge move to optimize the energy gain. And here comes Charizard. Yeah, this matchup's a wrap. Doesn't really matter at this point in time. Yeah, the Swampert can clean up in the back. Gonna be able to safely switch out to Swampert. To be honest, could have switched out earlier once you apply a few Dragon Breaths, because Charizard can't survive a Hydro Cannon at full health. So going up against the Mexicutioner. Oh, interesting name. Okay. So this is an interesting matchup here. Obviously, Armored Mewtwo does have access to Dynamic Punch, or Earthquake, which both would do quite a bit of damage. So definitely trying to time it. You see this train does a really nice job knowing that Perrserker is going to win CMP versus this Armored Mewtwo. So basically timing it, which I think is like a really good strategy. So basically optimizing their energy gain as much as possible. And looks like probably going to be just going to Shadow Claw down. Going to win Switch and going to have a decent amount of energy. And Foul Play and Close Combat are really good. Maybe like only like Togekiss, well, any fairy type would resist both. Interesting coming in with Lapras. So it does resist the Ice Shards, but unlikely. Let's see here. Actually, no, very likely. Okay, what am I talking about? It's 6 turns to get to the Surf. And as you can see, the double defense drop, but Steel timing is so good that it would have allowed Perrserker to get to the Foul Play or Close Combat. So in an interesting situation, I actually kind of like this move, though. Yeah, I like this move overall. I guess I wasn't expecting the Ice Beam to come through so quickly. Looks like this is just a Surf. Looks like they did farm out quite a bit. Oh, okay. This should put it in Hydro Cannon and Earthquake range, and yeah, this is a pretty safe game at this point in time. I think the Lapras still has a little bit of HP left. Unlikely that they can sack the Lapras in time. Yeah, very unlikely. Basically, this Swampert could almost Mudshot down, but they would get to another one. So Swampert does win CMP. It's the same like pace between like when with Mudshot Hydro Cannon as it is with Shadow Claw and Dragon Claw. Basically like 5 and 4, but Swampert does win. So we know this game's gonna get intense when game mode is on. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so this is an example of a negative matchup. So let's see how they decide to play. Gonna say switch into Giratina, and they actually switch out into Registeel. So 6.5 turns. They're both like half turn, 1 turn, however you want to define it. Lock On and Dragon Breath. 6.5 turns to get to the Flash Cannon, and then 7.5 to get to the Shadow Sneak, 6 to get to the Dragon Claws. Obviously this is like, it's even energy because like 15 can be divided by 3, and then it's a little bit not even when it's like Dragon Claw, because obviously 35 divided by 3 leaves 1 residual. Oh, they switch out into Cresselia. Whoa. Probably didn't want to shield. Okay. I would have understood switching out into Swampert. I think that's a safer play if you don't want to shield the Shadow Sneak for whatever reason. But then, yeah. Okay. Basically, Perrserker resists all the moves. And basically, okay. Oh, a little bit. That was weird. But like, was that like out of sync? Yeah, these like fake CMPs are very annoying. Okay. So, okay. Or maybe you want to, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's still gonna work out fine. I guess as a Swampert, you want to, okay, so they're gonna switch. Yeah, this matchup's, this is not gonna KO. And then, I guess you try to Dragon Breath down. Doesn't, to be honest, I would actually prefer that the Registeel throw the... Oh my gosh! Okay, interesting. This actually would have been a really close match without that shield, to be honest, because the Swampert could have easily mud-shotted down. Oh, interesting, coming into the Perrserker. Okay, and no farm down. I guess afraid of the charge move, which makes sense. Like, you don't... Okay, well. Okay, this is... farm down. I guess the Swampert didn't have that much health left, so you have to use a shield somewhere. Yeah. Oh man, shielding that close combat earlier would have been better, but Hydro Cannon, not able to get to another one. Alright, that's going to be a GG there. So able to overcome that negative lead. Okay, interesting. Okay, we're going to go into this next match. Perrserker into Articuno. Okay, so this is another positive match because it does resist the Ice Shards and Icy Wind, and going to be able to outpace the Articuno. Takes 5 Ice Shards for the first one, so Icy Wind should come now, which is 7.5 turns versus 6 turns for the foul play. Okay, and then it's 6 on the second one, so you get to be a little bit careful. You obviously want to get the charge moves in beforehand. So shield. Interesting, not shielding the first one, but shielding the second one. Generally, if you're going to stay in this matchup, you want to shield the first one because it does the most damage. Okay, nice play. Oh, man. That's an aggressive play. And then going to go for the close combat. The close combat does base 100 power versus, I think foul plays 45 energy, 70 damage. So obviously does quite a bit more. So another example of where Dragon Breath is just really OP at this situation. Even obviously if it calls the Earthquake bait correctly. Whoa, okay, actually gonna switch. Potentially would have like waited for the Snorlax to throw the Earthquake first to like waste his energy, because these body slams are coming in pretty often now. But it does take 6 turns to get to it. Swamper's going to be able to easily outpace. This is actually not going to... Oh, okay. They shield. I don't think this even KOs. It'll be very close. Might be able to put it into mud shot range. Nah, not quite mud shot range. This body slam won't KO either. And then nice switch out on both sides. Trying to take advantage of the situation. And it's kind of funny, like watching like 2 really good players go at it, because you can see like they're both thinking the same thing and they're both not trying to give each other an edge. It doesn't matter if this is an Earthquake, it'll do quite a bit. Obviously they have to shield the next one, and should be able to just Dragon Breath down. This is why Dragon Breath is real impressive. Obviously with Dragon Breath over Shadow Claw, a little bit worse matchup against Registeel, and then as well worse matchup against Cresselia. Both like generally losing matchups, and I'm sure there's a few other situations. I guess like worse against fairies, because there's like almost no chance. You basically do no damage with Dragon Breath versus fairy types. Versus Shadow Claw would deal neutral, and the damage definitely adds up, and you get to Shadow Sneak sooner. Okay, so this is an interesting matchup. So they both have Shadow Claw. Blast Burn is 50 energy. Foul Play and Close Combat are 45. So they are going to get to it sooner. It does take 1 less. I believe it takes 1 less for the second one, because you have to go to 56 energy. Is that right? 56. 56, and then you only have to go to 4. Then obviously 7 for the second one. So able to take it out, winning. Okay. I guess that's the end of that match. So I guess they were really I kind of lost for words. I was ready to commentate the rest of that match, but that is what it is. So anyways, thank you, Zero Tag, O Tag, however you want to pronounce your name, for sending me those battles. I think Perrserker is a really interesting Pokemon. Obviously, I know Valor Ash has been streaming a double steel lineup with Perrserker, which I think is also really interesting. So definitely, check him out on Twitch or on Twitter. So I think Perrserker has a really nice niche in the meta and definitely has some really strong play. Obviously, has to be careful of counter users, has to be careful of Swampert, but does have definitely with its with Ghost, Dark, and Fighting has like really nice coverage, and Steel typing is always really strong in any meta. So anyways, I'm gonna leave there. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see everyone in the next video.